webinar, we're going to run for about an hour, trying to fit it in people's lunch break, if that's what you've got to fit it into. 9 key areas that every successful landlord must master. And what I want to cover today, let's give you the detail of what we plan to cover today. So I'll give you a very brief background to me and the Insight Group. In fact, because just about everybody's heard that, I'll do that incredibly quickly. I'll very quickly cover why UK property. Again, I'm going to assume that you understand some of the benefits of investing in UK property already. I'm not going to do that in detail today. Today is all about that third point, which is the 9 key areas that I believe every successful landlord must master. And these 9 key areas, I wrote a book about 4 years ago now called The Property Coach. And in The Property Coach, there's a story of a couple of investors and their journey, at the beginning of their journey to invest in property. And to do that, I sat down and thought about what were the areas that somebody knew or somebody who was with less than 10 properties needed to master or learn enough about to be able to successfully outsource to somebody else to be able to definitely end up with a successful portfolio. What are the skills you need to learn? And the goal of today is to cover those 9 key skills. So hopefully you've got pen and paper to hand. You can take notes as we're going along. But we're going to cover the 9 key areas, and it's an opportunity for you to write each one down. And I often encourage people to have a piece of paper with 3 columns. And in the first column, you're going to write down each of the 9 key areas as we go along. The second column, I want to master and do this myself. The third column, I really don't want to master this, or I don't think I ever will. I need to outsource it. And as you go through today's webinar, start putting ticks in each of those columns, because at the end of this webinar, you should be in a position where you can look at those ticks and go, wow, actually, I really need to outsource this stuff. I need to look for a portfolio, hands-free building company, or somebody who can outsource all of this. Or you might go, wow, it's the other way. I just want to learn about this stuff. I just want to learn. I want to do this myself. I've ticked all those boxes. I believe I can do this myself. I believe I can learn this myself, and I can be great at it. And you'll have the ticks in those boxes. Or you might have a mixture of ticks. Quite often people have got ticks in both boxes for a certain point. And what they'll say to me is, well, Aaron, I'm new, so I want to outsource it first of all, but then really, really watch what that person does, learn from them. And then eventually I do believe I can master it, and I'd like to do it myself. And they end up with a tick in both boxes, which is absolutely fine as well. But it gives you, at the end of this session, you should know what the key areas are and what you need to do to move forward. The biggest reason people don't move forward is a fear of the unknown, okay? A fear of what's going to happen next, a fear of where things are going to go. But the trouble is that fear of the unknown leads to so many people just not moving at all. A survey was done of people who thought about investing in a hands-free portfolio building company and decided not to. So they've put a lot of time and effort in. They've checked things out. They've looked into things thoroughly. They decide not to use hands-free. They're going to do it themselves. A year later, 94% of those people still not invested in property. Why is that? Is it because they're uneducated? No. Is it because they don't know how to invest? No, it's because they're fearful. Things get in the way. Life gets in the way. Life gets busy, and they're fearful. They don't want to make a mistake. They don't want to look a fool to their friends and family. They don't want to feel a fool to themselves, wasting money on making the wrong decision. So instead, they make no decision. The trouble with no decision is it doesn't lead to anything. It doesn't move you forward in life. If you always made no decision, you'd still be sleeping in a cot and you wouldn't be walking. So the goal of today is to help you get clear on those 9 key areas, clear on what you need to learn about if you're going to do it yourself, or clear on what you need to learn to outsource it, and then so you can move forward, you can take steps and move forward. We'll finish off with a question and answer session. And for those that want it, I'll very briefly go through Property Insights product, just in case it might be right for you. But we'll just cover that briefly today. If you want any more information on my company or my 4 companies and our products, then I'll give you the links at the end so you can connect with the team if you've found today of use. Okay. So that's the idea for today. As I said, in terms of background, I don't want to bore you with the background because just about all of you have seen that before. So you understand that we've got a lot of technical knowledge, 2 decades now in the property industry. Okay, and we have access to £60 million worth of discounted property every single month. And because of our incredibly strict rules, which I'm going to touch on shortly, we reject 59 out of 60 of the deals that come over our doormat, as it were, even though they have a 20% plus discount. So whereas most investors will take months and months or weeks and weeks to find one deal with 20% discount and they snap the seller's hand off, we reject 59 out of 60 of those because of the rules that we have in place. And more on rules shortly. Okay. The Insight Group, maximum capacity of 200 clients. You'll have heard me say that before. Only 16 slots available. So if we get to the end of this and you are maybe interested in working with us, I really encourage you to take action sooner rather than later, so that we're not fully sold out. Okay. Now, this slide just touches on what we've been talking about. Tony Robbins is a great mentor of mine, and I don't know if you've heard him speak or come across him before or not, but he's got a great quote. He says, "When you outlearn me, you will out-earn me. When you outlearn me, you will out-earn me." And that comes from Tony's commitment over a 10-year period. He read 700 books over a 10-year period when he was early on in his career. He got 700 different takes on life, different pieces of information. He could then filter and decide what to take on and what not to. We've helped our clients, our investors, ourselves to buy over 1,000 properties, manage my own portfolio of over 100 properties, and tens and tens more of joint ventures with other people. You've got two choices. Whenever I first sit with somebody and they're interested in property, I say, look, you've got two choices and you need to commit to one of these two. You can either commit to mastery, and mastery means do it properly, find the best 2 or 3 people in the world or in the country, find out what they do, exactly how they do it, and copy them. So if you want to do houses of multiple occupation for students, which I don't do, find the best 2 or 3 people who specialize in houses of multiple occupation for students in the country who are actively doing it, not that teach it, but do it as well as teach it. Go find out what they do, exactly how they do it, and copy it. Because if they're getting outstanding results and you copy them, you'll get very good results. The challenge is that in this world, the majority of people learn from or copy a friend or an acquaintance, the easy path. And in property, that means somebody who's got 1, 2, or 3 properties. And with the best will in the world and the greatest of respect, you've got 1, 2, or 3 properties, you are still very average at property. You can't be outstanding when you've only done it 2 or 3 times. And if you learn from someone average, you'll get poor results. You learn from someone outstanding, you get very good results. So just the person you choose to learn from can affect that. Now, I don't do education, so I'm not sharing this to sell my education. I'm sharing this because if you, at the end of today, you've got all the ticks in the columns that say you want to learn to do it yourself, please compound decades in today, speed your life up, commit to mastery, find the best to learn from. Or you need to find the absolute best experts to work with. You need to say, I need outstanding people to do this in a hands-free manner for me. Who are the best people to use? Whether that's just to get a letting agent or that's the whole property journey, the sourcing, the mortgages, the finance, the solicitors, the refurbishment, the whole shooting match. But then you know you need to just get good at finding those experts. What are the questions you need to ask to get the right experts in your team? To be honest, if I taught nothing else that you listened to today, but you really truly listened to that and took it in and you acted on it, that'd be worth 50 hours of education. Committing to mastery literally takes somebody else's decades of work and experience and compounds it in today's for you. Okay, but you're on the webinar. You've chosen to spend this hour with me, which I really appreciate and I thank you for. You could have spent that hour anywhere. You've chosen to spend it with me, so I suspect that the people on this call are committed to either mastery or are committed to finding the right experts to do it for them. So, okay. We always, when we run a webinar, we want to give you some free offers as a thank you for coming along. So these are the 4 free offers that we make. So I'll come back to these at the end, and you'll be able to claim these, or you can email the team info@propertyinsight.info if you'd like any of them to help you on your journey. If you find today's webinar of particular use to you, I really do recommend my book, and I'm not doing that to sell the book. You can claim it for today for the cost of postage and packaging, just £5. So it's not going to make us any money, but the book covers these 9 key steps in detail. I can only cover it in an hour here, but the book covers it in absolute detail. So I really, really recommend the book to you. Okay. So without further ado, I'll flick past a couple of slides and we'll get on with the 9 key areas. So I'm going to go through each of these one at a time, and we'll go through the detail. And I've only got an hour. I could easily spend a full day on this area. I could spend an hour easily on each of these 9 key areas. So forgive me, I'll go as deep as we can in the time that we've got, but I can't go as deep as I'd like to. But I want to get you to think about and to understand these key areas. So these are the 9 key areas. Now, they're deliberately in this order. For me, they run in order of importance and in order of the effect they will have on your financial success or failure from investing in property. So lots and lots of people start to get involved in property, and they think like I did. When I first bought my first property, I thought, gosh, I can buy a house, but I don't know how to set up a tenancy agreement. I don't know what the rules are. The skill I need to learn to do this property thing is about managing tenancies. I need to find out how to manage a tenant. How do I do this? That's skill number 8. Or then I'd a couple of properties later, I'd buy a house and it'd need a lot of work doing. I think, gosh, I know nothing here about refurbishment. I don't. Who do I get to come and look at the property? How do I find the right builder? How do I make sure I'm not ripped off? How do I do it to the right standard? Because the only people I know are people who do work to my own house, and this letting property is a different type of property. Who do I get? Which electrician do I use? Which plumber do I use? What happens when it breaks on a Sunday? Who do I ring? Refurbishment is the 6th skill for me out of 9. Now, is refurbishment important? It really, really is. Is managing the tenancy important? It really, really is. But nowhere near as important, in my opinion, as the ones that are higher up in the list. And these opinions come from 20 years of building my own portfolio and the last decade of helping other people build successful portfolios and looking at what the key differences are between the people that now have 50 plus properties, 10 plus properties, 5 plus properties. What are the key differences those people have from the people that are still only have 1 property or none or 3 or 2? Okay, so let's go through each of these 9 key areas in detail. Okay, the first could easily be 2. So I'm going to split it into 2 parts. The first area you must work on is mindset. You must have an investor's mindset if you want to be successful. If you want to maximize your investing returns, which I assume you do, you're not investing in property for fun, you're doing it because it'll give you a financial return. It's great if you have fun at the same time, but if you want to maximize your returns, you need to have the right mindset. Now, what do I mean by mindset? Just to share a couple of pieces with you. The first is that if you think of a homeowner versus an investor, and let me give you an example. One of my businesses is a mortgage business. So people ring us up all the time. We've over 6,000 clients. They ring us up wanting a new mortgage. And they ring up and they say, I've found a new property that I'd like to buy. It's a buy-to-let. And we go, great, that's absolutely great. Tell me a bit about the property. And they said, well, it's great property. It's got this green carpet in the hallway. It just needs a bit of work. It needs to be a lighter colour. The back room is a bit dark. We're going to put some patio doors in there out to the outside just to lighten that room up. We know straight away that this person has thought about their purchase from a homeowner's mindset point of view. Let me give you a comparable. Exact same property, but a different person. They ring up, same conversation tapes. What's the property like? It's brilliant. I've run the rental check. 15 people have replied, so I know the property is going to rent really, really easily. In terms of cash flow, it's £150 a month cash flow, bottom line, even with the mortgage rate at a 5-year fixed rate. I know it's going to rent, and I'm getting a 20% discount on the property. I'm delighted. It ticks all the boxes. That person is thinking about the numbers. When you make an investment, invest is to put some money out looking for a return. Put some money out looking for a return. Okay, and too many people get mix up the two. And it's not surprising that you mix up the two, homeowner and investor, when you're first starting out, because what connection have you had personally with things that have walls and windows and doors? Your connection throughout your life until you become a property investor is that these are homes. You come home from the hospital as a baby. People visit you in your home. You start to visit them in their home. As you become a child, you visit your friends in their home, they come to your home. You grow up as a teenager, you dream of leaving home and getting your own home, and then you leave home and you get to rent your own home, and you dream of buying a home, and eventually you buy a home. It's been a home all along. So is it surprising when you walk into a property, naturally, just your subconscious kicks into gear? Your subconscious brain that works 40,000 times quicker than your conscious mind kicks into gear and makes all these decisions and opinions about that property before your conscious mind's even got started. And that subconscious brain has decades, or a couple of decades, depending how old you are, of training in it about what a home is, about what this is. So is it surprising people then make decisions from the wrong place as a homeowner? What matters is the numbers. This is an investment. You want the best return. I'm not saying have a shoddy home, not saying don't do things properly for your tenants, but if 20 people want to rent that house in its current condition, it doesn't need patio doors or the green carpet changing. If only 2 people want to rent it, you're buying the wrong house anyway. Okay, so that's an example of mindset. I can literally do a full day on mindset. The second thing I want you to take out of mindset is just to understand, and if you want to study this further, there's a great guy called T. Harv Eker. H-A-R-V is Harv, and Eker, E-K-E-R. He's famous for his book, The Millionaire Mindset. But T. Harv teaches all about financial thermometer. Tony Robbins teaches this a lot as well. By the time you are 7, 8, or 9, the majority of your financial beliefs, your relationship beliefs, your health and fitness beliefs have already been programmed in you. The majority of that programming takes place from the significant adults in your life at that time. Probably your parents for most people, but can be other significant adults that can affect that. Okay. Now, what that means is you have a view of what is a good relationship and a bad relationship. You have a view of what is healthy and what's not healthy. And financially, you have a view of what is good financial health and what's bad financial health. This is the reason why we see so many people will leave school, college, university, and in their first 10 years of work will work their butts off. Because say I leave school or uni and my belief is that my financial worth is somewhere between 30 and 40,000. That's my value. Of course, it increases with inflation, but what I can get with the money, that's my value. And this is a subconscious thought. It's not conscious. I will work 2 jobs, 3 jobs until I get to there. It's like a thermometer in your room. Okay, your thermometer is set to 30 to 40 or 35 to 40. If you're only on 20, it kicks in and heats you up. You get out there, you work a second job, a third job. And this is why you see so many people who are in their 20s working. They get to 30 and they're earning a certain salary, and you come back and visit them 30 years later and they're earning the same type of salary. Inflation might have increased it a bit, but they're on the same type of salary, same type of job 30 years later. And they'll tell you it's because life got in the way. Family became more important. Other things were a priority. But that's because their belief system said that those things should be more important. And those belief systems said that they'd reached what was the correct financial bracket. Now, the problem with this that I want you to really understand, and you really need to get deep on this, it's so vital, is the majority of people listening to this call, the majority of property investors have reached some level of financial comfort. They've had some level of success in life. They've achieved what they set out to achieve. They're earning reasonable money. Otherwise, they wouldn't have managed to save up. They've got their own house. They've got their family, or they've got their position in life. Okay, and therefore, why? What's the extra money going to do? And what actually happens, the bad news about this financial thermometer is it kicks in if you overheat as well. If you start earning more money than you're worth in your mind, more money than you believe you're worth, your subconscious will kick in and say that you're not worth this. And you can find ways and mechanisms to either let inflation catch you up, you'll stop working so hard, you've had an extra couple of promotions you didn't think you were worth, inflation catches you up and sucks you back in because you concentrate on other areas of your life instead of work still, or starts to get in the way and mess things up. As a young salesperson being particularly successful and striving for bigger and better things, I actually ended up starting to subconsciously mess things up, didn't ring people back quite so quickly as I should, didn't follow things up as quickly as I should. No good reason. But it was my subconscious saying, you're not worth this money. Even now, as a really successful business owner and having over 100 properties, I have the challenge that my belief systems, I was programmed to not be worth what I earn today. And I have challenges with that stop me growing my business, stop me developing forward when I should. And I have a business coach that has to work on that mindset with me to say it's fine to do that. And a lot of that for me comes through contribution. It's fine to earn more because you can contribute more, because my values and beliefs around contribution were really, really high, far higher than other people. But my belief about what I was worth is quite low compared to quite a lot of other people. So you need to understand this. The reason you need to understand it is if you're A, in your comfort zone, and B, you're then saying, shall I take a risk, take some of this money and invest it to be able to move forward, to be able to earn more money, your subconscious mind will be saying, you don't need to earn more money. You're comfortable. What are you doing? You don't need to. There's no point. And if that kicks in, it can drag you back in, or you can buy your first couple of properties. People then panic, they hit the first problem, they end up selling up, but it's their subconscious mind taking over their beliefs rather than it's logical to sell up. It's still a good investment, but they sell up because they've hit a problem and the subconscious goes, I told you so, you don't even need that extra money anyway. So please work on this. Like I say, I could do the full hour, I could do the full day on mindset, but hopefully you connect a bit with what I've just been talking about. The second rule, I've put it here all in one rule, is about having key rules in place. Any professional property investor you speak to that's got 50 plus properties will have a set of rules in place. And them having these rules in place about what they will invest in, what they won't invest in, what will they buy, what won't they buy, is not happen by chance. It's happened normally because along the way they've made mistakes that cost them hundreds, cost them thousands of pounds. If I had time to tell you my story, I started out where you guys are starting, or where you guys are. I started with no properties and no money to invest. I started not knowing how to invest. Back then, there wasn't education and people to teach you. So I've been where you guys are at. Unfortunately for me, it was trial and error. Luckily enough for me, I got up and tried again. When I lost a few hundred or a few £1,000s, I still got up and tried again, whereas most people quit or walk away. But we've taken those learnings. You speak to anybody with 50 plus properties, they'll normally say in the first 10 properties that they bought, they made loads of mistakes. And they'll also say, here's my rules. Whether they do student HMOs, whether they do HMOs, whether they do rent to rent, whether they do family lets like I do, here are my rules. So I have a set of rules that I buy to. We've used these now for the last decade for myself and for our investors. Okay, I don't buy now for myself, I buy for my investors now, my company do. But our rules are sacrosanct. We can have a house with a £40,000 discount, but if it fails on cash flow by £1 a month, reject. And people say, you're crazy, £1 a month, that's only £12 a year, 40,000 discount, you should still buy it. Reject. Stick to the rules. Okay, get really clear on your rules, get brilliant at them, get outstanding at them, and deliver. And once you get good at one strategy, and you've worked that strategy for a couple of years, and you're really, really, really good at it, then go try and learn a second strategy. Too many people in property, you go to these networking events, which are brilliant, by the way, but you go along and you get to hear every single week, or each time you go every month, 2 different speakers making good money in property. Then another 2 making good money in property again, but doing it a different way. And then another 2 and another 2. And by the end of the year, you've heard 20 people speak. You've read 20 different magazine articles, all people being successful, but all doing it a different way. And so far, you're a jack of all trades, a master of none. Instead, find one strategy you're going to get great at. If your strategy is going to be family-let, buy-to-lets, the traditional model, these are your rules. You follow these rules categorically every time, and you will not fail to make profit. But so many people break them. They see a shiny penny, they see another option that comes along. Okay. Now, we're not here to do these rules in detail. If you want these rules in detail, you can go to our website, www.propertyinsight.info, and you can watch, click on the webinars area and watch the key rules webinar. I spend an hour going through these rules so you can see in detail all of these rules. Okay. But these are the rules we use that mean that even though we're getting a 20% discount, we often reject. And we do reject 59 out of 60 properties that we can get with 20% discount. So are you able to manage your own mindset? Are you able to make sure your rules are correct and bang up to date? Then you'll be ticking the first box. If not, you'll be ticking that second box saying, I need to outsource this. I need to work with someone who manages my mindset. You know, I've lost track of the number of times that we'll intervene with our clients. They've entrusted us to grow their portfolio, but they'll panic. And I totally get the panicking. It happens. It's something new. When you do something new for the first time, it's concerning, it's worrying. And you're learning all the way along. So we keep that person's mindset adjusted. We work with them. We have a client service manager whose job 50% of the time is to work on people's mindset. And then as a team, we share our rules up front and we categorically stick to them. Every client knows the rules, so we can't send them a property that doesn't meet it. But they're that fundamental, having the right mindset, the right rules. Okay, area number 2, sourcing with discount. Okay, you have to always buy with discount, please. Again, we get so many calls. They ring up Mortgage Insight. We need a mortgage. We're buying a buy-to-let. Great. Does it meet the rules? Oh, I've seen Aran's training on that. It meets all the rules apart from discount. I didn't get the 20%. I managed to get 5% discount though. And we say to them, okay, are you sure you want to buy it then? Are you sure that's what you want to do? Yeah, I still want to buy it. And what happens is people get the education that they should buy at discount, but it's not easy. If it was easy, then everybody would do it. Then there wouldn't be the discounts. It's difficult to buy at discount, but is it a skill worth mastering? Because once you master it, discount can be £30,000 of discount. If you're going to buy 10 houses, that's a £300,000 skill. Is it worth your time going on 3 or 4 or 10 days worth of courses and webinars to make £300,000 of savings in your investment journey? Absolutely. When we look at our model with our clients, we take a 75,000 investment and we grow them over 12 years, 9 properties. That's with buying with discount. If you don't buy with discount, exact same model, 12 years, 3 properties, 3 instead of 9. You get 300% of the returns financially, not just for 1 year, but year after year after year after year after year, if you buy with discount. That's how valuable it is. And it's not just about the discount you lock in today, it's about the fact you can release the equity back out of that discount in 6 to 12 months' time and put that towards your next property. Okay. I've got, again, loads and loads of techniques. There's loads of ways. So if you want to do this yourself, then go to our webinars area. I'm going to keep saying this. So www.propertyinsight.info. In fact, going forward, I'll just say the webinars area. Click on the webinars area. It's free, but go watch our last webinar we did on sourcing properties with discount. And I cover in detail how we source hundreds of properties into our inbox at discount. Key area for Mastery 3, negotiation. Do you have the negotiation skill? When I first started out buying property, I remember buying my first house for myself, which was a bungalow in Scarborough. And I'd bought an investment property before that, which I'd bought really badly. But I came to look at this house, and there was an old gentleman. His wife had passed away. He was moving into a nursing home, sadly. And the house was up for sale for $48,000, and I wanted to pay $42,000. And I walked back down the driveway with the agent. I didn't know anything about property back then. So the first mistake I made was I made an offer straight away instead of waiting a little while. So I found myself saying, I'd like to make an offer. And she said, great, what would you like to offer? And I'd like to offer 42,000. And I felt so bad for the guy inside, who it turned out had loads of money. But I felt so bad for him and his situation, I ended up saying 42,500. I'd never planned to offer the extra 500. I didn't want to offer the extra 500, but I did. That was how poor I was at negotiation back then. Okay, 18, 19 years ago. Some of us naturally love negotiation. Some of us, it's just not our natural place. It's not our natural place to be. It's a real skill. And for some of us, therefore, being the negotiator is a great thing. You know, some people say, I'd love to do that. I love cutting deals. I have members of team who love cutting deals. That's great for property sources. But I have members of the team who hate cutting deals. The last thing they want to be is in a negotiation. But it's a real skill to learn, you know, so much so that, you know, Simon Zucci at Property Investor Network and Progressive Properties, the guys there, Rob and Mark, they run 3-4 day courses that teach you this stuff, that teach you how to negotiate properly. If you know how to negotiate properly, you can end up reaching a price and an agreement and the vendor's locked in. They're definitely selling to you. Even though you've got a 20% discount, they're selling to you and they're happy. If you don't know how to negotiate properly, you think you've got a 20% discount and that your deals keep falling through a week or two later and they sell to somebody else and you don't know why. But it's because you haven't learned the skill of negotiation. You haven't learned the skill of getting alongside them. It's an actual skill. So again, don't have time to do the detail now, but you need to be ticking the boxes. Is this something you can do yourself, or actually are you better outsourcing it? Okay, and do the same with the property sourcing with discount. Okay. Key area 4 is about having power teams in place and about purchasing. Now, in terms of power teams, your power team are the people around you who help you in your investment journey. So your letting agent, your mortgage broker, your solicitor, your financial advisor, your 17 tradespeople that you need. If you get a copy of my book or you've got it, 17 key tradespeople needed to successfully manage a property. It's not just plumber, joiner, electrician. There's 17 of them that you should have, 3 deep, 51 tradespeople. You know, it's all of those people in place. And imagine you have all those people supporting you in a team. And imagine you're a football team and you go out and you're getting to play Chelsea or Man City or Man United. So you're walking out at Stamford Bridge against Chelsea, and in your team are the people you've currently assembled. It might be your residential mortgage broker who's not really an expert at buy-to-let, but he's a good friend, or he's done a couple of resis for you. A letting agent you found out of the Yellow Pages, imagine that's your team. It's like turning up with a Sunday League football team to play in the Premiership. You need those people to be 9 or 10 out of 10. You have a weak link, couple of weak links, and Chelsea will beat you every time, no matter how good the rest of the team are. Every single time, because they'll go through your weak links. It's the same with your property investing journey. If you want to be ultimately successful at it, to do the best you can, put the time into getting people who are 9 or 10 out of 10 in your team. And there's a whole webinar on that, a Power Teams webinar. It takes an hour to cover it, but that Power Teams webinar gives you all the detail of how to get these people, who you should have, and how to find them. And it shows you the questions to ask to make sure you're putting the right people in your team. 9 key questions we have to make sure anybody we're going to work with is the right person to work with. Okay, we've built power teams over the last 2 decades. We now have them right across the UK. So you can say, I'm from Coventry, I'm from Birmingham, I'm from Nottingham, I'm from Manchester, I'm from London. Do you have local refurbishment teams, local solicitors, mortgage brokers, etc., etc.? And we have them in place because we built them for ourselves and our teams and our clients, but you've got to know what questions to ask, and you've got to be ruthless. Don't let someone on your team that's a 7 out of 10. Make sure they're 9 or 10 out of 10 every single time. If you want to know more about that, watch the Power Teams webinar. I keep saying this and pushing you to the other webinars. It's for no reason other than to give you access to great education. You get the webinars for free. They're on our website, www.propertyinsight.info. Okay, now this particular slide is talking about purchasing. You need to be able to go look and meet with a vendor, to look them in the eye and say, look, I'm going to buy your house. The bad news is it's 20% less than it's worth is what I'm going to offer you. And by the way, you must always be ethical. I don't believe in doing things unethically. You must always be ethical. So we're offering you 20% less because you want it done quick. If you've still got 6-9 months to sell this house, don't sell it to us. Go sell it in the local estate agent. They'll sell it for you. And I'll help you with that if you want. I'll introduce you to the agent because by making introductions to them, they'll give me the heads up when they get discounted deals in. That's a whole nother webinar. But you need to be able to purchase quickly. You need to be able to look them in the eyes and say, I'll get this done within 2 weeks. Now, the only way you can do that is if you have a proactive solicitor who will get it done within 2 weeks, because you can't tell these people fibs. This is their life you're dealing with. So you need solicitors that are proactive. You need solicitors who are solution-driven, not problem-driven, that will look for, here's the problems, but here's the 3 solutions I suggest we take, and that will get the job done. We can buy a property in a couple of days. But you've got to have the team in place that can do that. The majority of vendors, 99 times out of 100, they want the certainty, but they won't actually want you to complete within 2 weeks. They want that certainty that you will get it done when they want, but it takes them longer than that to organize themselves and moves anyway. But you need to have these people in place so you can honestly look them in the eye and say that. They will deal with you if you can give them certainty. Most people selling for discount want certainty in their life. There's some area of their life that's really uncertain at that moment in time. And they need to get back to a point of certainty as quickly as possible. The more you can help them to do that, it's not about price then. It's about helping them get to where they need to be, genuinely to where they need to be. So do you have that solicitor in place? Can you get them in place? Or do you need to outsource that and find the right solicitor? Okay. Key area for Mastery 5 is along the same lines, but it's about financing. Okay. The average mortgage broker in the UK does 1 buy-to-let mortgage a month. With holidays and everything else, that's 10 a year. You cannot be an expert when you only do something 10 times a year. You need to know the right broker who understands that there are certain products. You know, if you want to buy a house and refurbish it and then take a further advance in 6 months, that's totally different to buying a house to flip. That's different again to buying and just holding. You know, and you need different products for all of these outcomes. You know, if you've got being offered a house with 25% discount and the only way to buy it, but it needs buying in the next 3 days, you need a broker that can organize bridging finance and make that happen for you. And even if that bridging finance costs you 5% of the deal, you've still just made a 20% discount. You're in. I don't mind paying away 5% of my profits to the bridging company if that gets me in the deal. I don't mind paying away 50% of my profits to somebody if it makes me profit I wouldn't have had otherwise. I'd rather have 50% of something than 100% of nothing. So you need the right broker in place. You need to work with brokers that do a minimum of 5, ideally at least 10 buy-to-let mortgages every single month. Month in, month out, month in, month out. There are about 6 brokerages in the UK, I believe, that hit that kind of level. You need to be working with one of them. Mortgage Insight, one of my businesses, are one of them. But there are 5 other great ones too. But you have to have them in your team. Again, is that something you've got or you can do yourself? Or do you have those experts in place? Okay. The experts will keep up with the latest regulations, the latest offers, the latest deals coming out. Okay. Key area for Mastery 6. So a lot of people would have thought this would be number 1 or 2, is refurbishing the property. So for me, you need an odd job person and you need 16 other key tradespeople. Okay, and if you want a list of these, like I say, it's covered in my book, The Property Coach, but there are 17 key tradespeople: gardener, fencer, roofer, plasterer, tiler, carpet person, etc., etc. There are 17 key tradespeople, and for me, at the Insight Group, we never buy a property for our clients unless we have 17 key tradespeople, 3 of each already in place in that area. Because when you ring the plumber on a Sunday and they're busy with their family, then you need to have someone else you know and trust that you can call. And this will save you thousands of pounds in the long run. You look after your properties well, your tenants stay, and also you don't get ripped off on price by the tradespeople because you know them, you trust them, they've been checked out. So we have, as I say, full teams in place everywhere we buy, but if you want to know how to get those people in place, again, look at the Power Teams webinar to see that in detail, how to find those people and get the right people in place. So the other thing here is, things like I have roofers at the moment that will work for £8 to £10 an hour. Before the recession, they were on £25 an hour. Now they're just delighted to be getting good, solid work. We've got painters and decorators, £10 an hour, who get through a house incredibly quickly. They're professional. They get through a house incredibly quickly, but do a great job. You need to have the right people in your team. You can overspend so easily in this area, and before you know it, a few £100 each time soon adds up to a few thousand per property, and you've got 10 properties, you've just spent 50,000 more than you should in a decade on refurbishment, just because you never mastered this skill. Now, many people never want to master this skill. In my early days in property, I was really blessed because my business partner that I chose to invest in property with, Mark, enjoyed this side of things. He enjoyed going out and meeting with them. I spent my time learning to negotiate. So he'd go meet with them, enjoy having all the conversations. I'd do the negotiating, and then Mark would take it forward and get the job done with them. And that worked really well. It still works really well to this day, but we've developed those different skills. Mark outsources the negotiating to me. He's got 70 plus properties. He still outsources the negotiating. I outsource this refurbishment work to him in that joint venture that the two of us have. In the Insight group, which is my group of businesses, not Mark's, but we have a refurbishment business that does that. So, key skill for mastery number 7, tenanting your property. Okay. So you do need to tenant your property with good people. You want to be running at a family let, 98% occupied, at least 95% rent collected. Now you have to kiss a few frogs to get the princess. Don't chastise yourself or beat yourself up or sell your property instantly if you make a mistake or pick the wrong person. Okay? Test. Okay, sorry, we lost sound there just for a second, so we're back now, which is great. And so yeah, don't chastise yourself if you get it wrong or pick the wrong person. These things happen. You can pick the wrong partners in life. Have you ever picked the wrong boyfriend or girlfriend? Did you ever get it wrong first time? Did that mean you gave up for some people it does. You gave up for life on boyfriends and girlfriends, or did you just adjust, take some learning and move forward? It will be the same when you first start to tenant. Learn all you can, but you'll make some mistakes. You'll kiss the frogs. But what you're after is what we call lifers. Someone who says, I want to live here forever. I love it here. My mum lives down the road. My dad's round there. My sister's round the corner. This is perfect for me. That's the type of person we look for. 60%, 65% probably actually of our properties, my personal properties, are occupied by lifers. Now, it takes 2 or 3 years when we're building a portfolio for somebody to build them through, because we kiss a couple of frogs on the way and we get the lifers in. But there is a skill as well. You need to advertise your properties before you even buy them. It was one of our key rules. We never buy a property unless we've advertised it to rent first. So we agree to buy it, immediately advertise it to rent. If we don't get 10 replies in the first week, we don't go ahead. And we've advertised it on Zoopla. It's free as an individual to put it on Zoopla. And we've advertised it in the newspaper, maybe 50 quid. 5 replies mean 3 people viewing it, mean 1 person wants it. You haven't chosen the tenant. They have chosen you. So many clients, investors, before they worked with us, so many investors out there in the world think they're choosing tenants, and they're not, because only 1 person wants it in the end. But if 20 people are interested, 10 people view it, 5 people want it, you can ask for bank statements, wage slips, guarantors, previous employers' references, previous landlords' references. And if that puts 1 or 2 of them off, you've still got 3 or 4 that want it. So buy properties only when you've done that rental check. And then manage your viewings. So many people will have 1 viewing at 2, then at 2:30, then at 3, then at 3, and they've lost the whole afternoon. And half of those don't turn up. I do the viewings en masse. Turn up at 2:30 and all come at 2:30. 10 of them there at 2:30, all looking around the house. It creates competition. People don't like to lose against each other. Have a strategy for how they go around the house. They should be going and again, you can watch a video. We've got a webinar on this, which was how to be 98% occupied, 95% rent collected. So go watch that webinar to learn this skill. But in that webinar, we cover this core topic. We cover the fact that you do these viewings en masse. You should take them into a certain room on the ground floor, then up round the top floor and finish off in the kitchen, or finish off in the best room downstairs. And in the best room downstairs, there's a load of application forms on clipboards. Do you like it? Yeah, great, fill this in. Because the next family walk in, see someone already applying. They're applying, I want it. Well, we're going to talk about it. No, we need to apply, they're applying. Third family are applying. Before you know it, you've got 5 applications going in competition. You're going to rent your property quicker. You're going to have less void period when you learn this skill. Okay. You need to be able to pick the right tenants still, though, learn to reference them. If you don't know how to do that, you can outsource so easily these days. My recommendation always is use a letting agent. You say, well, I'm going to save £60 a month, £70 a month if I don't use a letting agent, which is £800 a year. Well, take that £800 and spend it on the letting agent, and then take the time you save and spend it learning the skills up at the top, the mindset skills or the sourcing with discount, because those skills will stay with you for life. Learn to source with discount and save 30 grand. Do that 10 times in your lifetime. 300 grand because you took this year's profits and paid them to a letting agent. How many letting agents' fees will 300 grand pay? Or 30 grand from one property? Key area for Mastery 4 is managing the tenant. So long-term management, making sure that the tenant is looked after. Firm but fair management. You know, when I was young and naive, I would turn up to a property and I had a belief system that says you pay your debts, you pay your bills on time. So once they were a day late, I was cross. I remember knocking on this poor gentleman's door and he answers the door and I say, look, you haven't paid your rent. He says, I know, I'm struggling. It's not good enough, you haven't paid, and I'm having a real go at him on his doorstep. And it's only at the end as I go to leave that I realise that the door through to the lounge is still open. And in the lounge are his 10 family members, his brothers, his sisters, his kids, his mum and his dad, listening to this conversation. I've just totally embarrassed the poor guy. And is he likely to want to now work with me to sort the rent out, or is he likely to hate me? You need to get alongside your tenants. 99% of the time, when tenants don't pay the rent, it isn't because they don't want to pay the rent. It's because they're bad at managing their money. And normally, if you get alongside them in an honest, genuine way, but are open with them and get them to open up as well, you can find out what's going wrong. They've just got the direct debits in the wrong order, they're paying things incorrectly, etc. Make a plan with them they can stick to. Get clear on it, get it written down so they and you understand it. Make sure it's not over ambitious. They can't suddenly pay 2 months rent in the next 10 days if they've just missed the rent for last month. So make sure it's clear, be firm but fair, and say, great, as long as you stick to that, we're cool. We have 3 strikes, you're out. First time, mess up, have that conversation. Second time, mess up, have another conversation. Third time, you probably then got a problem, it's going to keep happening. Then you need to be managing them out. So that's skill number 8, getting alongside them. Don't do inspections of the houses every month. One of my tenants I met with about 2 years ago said, we moved from the last letting agent, we moved house because the agent inspected our house every month. Now that agent would have told the landlord they were so wonderful inspecting the house every month. And they used to go in and find dust behind the books on the bookshelf and then complain to the tenant about that. You come to my house, you'll find dust behind the books on the bookshelf. You know, manage them properly. Our inspections, all of our tradespeople are trained to do inspections so they can do them while they're there fixing something else and the tenant doesn't even know they've been inspected. Why remind somebody? Tenants feel uncertainty. People forget this because we're so privileged to own our own home or to be able to buy our own home or to be buying it at the moment. So we have certainty. We decide if we move. We decide if we sell. Someone who rents doesn't have that privilege. They don't have that benefit in life. So we have to work with them to give them that privilege and to give them that benefit of certainty. Because the more certainty you give them, the more likely they are to pay you and the more likely they are to stay long term. And the more they stay long term, when the door handle breaks or the toilet flush is broken, they just fix it. And it saves you money, and it saves you money on voids. And if they want to decorate, they just decorate. and they look after your house. So treat them as you would want to be treated. Be firm but fair, get alongside them, work with them, make it a win-win. Key area for Mastery 9 is finance, the tax and accounting side of things. Now, this is a wraparound. It could really be number 1, but you only really need to do it once or get the thinking right once. Therefore, I've got it down at number 9. But you've got to decide your portfolio strategy at the beginning. Whenever we work with a client, we'll say, well, what are your goals for 10, 15, or 20 years' time? Where are you trying to get to with this portfolio growth? And I don't mean money. Someone's saying, well, I want 40,000 of income. Great. We all want to make money from property, but what will you do with that money? Well, I'll do X, Y, and Z. And then even deeper, doing X, Y, and Z, what does that make you feel? Because as human beings, we do things for the feelings that they give us. That's why we do anything in life. It's for the feelings and emotions it will give us. So you can have a couple, and this true story, sat with a couple, we want to get 40,000 income, but great, what's that for? It's so we can retire, stop working, and spend more time together. And the spouse says, it's so we can retire and I can go play golf every day. Do you think that couple's got a problem? Absolutely. But they'd never discussed it before. It'd never come up because they just talked about if we get this money, we can retire. They'd not seen the dream through. They need to put compromise in place. Me and my wife Layla have very different views of what we'll do with our money, very different ways and beliefs about money. So we have to compromise, but we talk about it. We get clear on it. There's a 30-year, a 20-year, a 10, a 5-year plan, so we know where we're going. But we've agreed when we get there. And will we always hit the 10-year plan? Will it change slightly? Of course it will. But we've got a focus and a drive, and we're going in the same direction. And when you hit a bump in the road, because you will in property, I guarantee you, a tenant who doesn't pay, someone who trashes your property, a boiler that breaks, a void period. When you hit that bump, if you just focus on the bump, which is what most novice investors do, you see all the disaster you want out. But if you're focused on the vision and you're saying, well, it was a 10-year plan and I'm 3 years down it now. This is just a bump. Aran told me about these. I'm going to just drive over this thing. I'm not going to enjoy driving over it. It's very bumpy, but I'm still on path. That's a totally different way to look at the problem that you've got. I guarantee you, if you look in your life at either your relationship or your health and fitness or your finances, if you've got a really successful part of your life, you'll have a clear vision of what you should look like 5, 10, 15 years from now. And if you've got a part of your life that isn't working or isn't successful, there'll be no clear vision. So get clear on that vision. And you need to do that to put the right tax and accounting plan in place. Because if someone's building a portfolio of 50 properties, they need a different financial structure and tax structure than somebody building a portfolio of 5 properties. Now, again, I keep talking about past webinars. We ran a webinar. George Osborne, a month ago, just over a month, made some new announcements. About property tax. The people who don't do their research will use that as a reason to panic. More fear, more unknown. The people that do their research will know there's plenty of strategies that you can use, and it's just part of the journey. It's a bump. It's not ideal, but it's part of the journey. And again, if you go to the webinars area, you can watch that, or you can email my team. We did a 30-minute kind of video blog on this, and you can email my team for the 30-minute summary if you don't want to watch a full hour's webinar. And we've also got a spreadsheet you can use to work out the impact on yourself, etc. So you can email them info@propertyinsight.info. Info@propertyinsight.info if you want to hook up and connect with them on that basis. So do you have your tax strategy in place? Because you need to plan it now, not in 10 years' time when you've already built the portfolio. So as I said, if you want lots more deep dive on this stuff, if you get my book, The Property Coach, you can go a lot deeper, or you can just go straight to that webinars area, because we run individual webinars on most of these topics, and you can go watch those previous webinars if there's a particular area you want to go deeper on. Okay. If you email my team as well, info@propertyinsight.info, I've put it up on the screen. There's 3 other videos that you might find really, really useful. There's a leverage video that talks about the leverage in property. There's the house prices video we recorded recently, telling you what's happening in the south, in the north, in the Midlands. Where are things? What's happened in the last 5 years? What's going to happen in the next 5 years? I don't have a crystal ball, but I share a lot of information in that. and our tax efficiency video. I haven't covered it now, but how professionals take their profits tax efficiently. Another great skill to learn. So I'm driving you off to lots of other education, but it's because we've only got an hour together today. Really hope you found that useful. Just to finish off, and then we'll go to question and answer. I'm just going to spend 2 slides, if it's okay, talking about one of my businesses, Property Insight. Because you may have got, some people on this call will have ticks in the column that says, actually, I need to outsource most of this. And we offer what we believe is the market-leading hands-free service in the UK. We're the biggest in terms of client numbers. We buy the most properties every month. We're biggest in terms of team. I'm sat on this webinar. There's 30 members of team out there building successful portfolios for our clients day in, day out, year after year. Okay, and we've been doing that nearly for the last decade now. So in very simple terms, if I just take 2 minutes to explain it, because it may be of interest, and then we'll go on to Q&A. But 75,000 investment is our minimum investment, anywhere up to about £500,000. Okay, if you've got £40,000 today and you can get to 75,000 over the next year, either from equity release or from inheritance you're getting or from wages you're going to earn, as long as you can get to 75,000 over the next year, if you haven't got it already, we can take you on as a client. As I said, there's only 16 spaces left this year between now and Christmas. We only want to work with 200 clients because we get to know those clients inside out, back to front. We don't want to work with 1,000 people and get them 1 property each. We want to work with 200 people and build them really successful portfolios of 5, 10, 15 properties, etc. Build them a portfolio. To do that, we need to know your goals, ambitions, and make sure we get you there. In the first year, short term, first year, we buy 2 properties in the first year, normally in the first 6 months, with a guaranteed genuine 20% discount from what they would sell for on the open market within a couple of months. You get minimum of 100% growth in cash and equity by the end of year 5. This is all managed for you. So we source the properties, we negotiate, we sort the finance, we sort the solicitors, we get it bought, we refurbish it, we tenant it, and we manage the tenancy. It is a hands-free service. You can get as involved as you like, but it's hands-free. Or you can invest with us. Lots of people invest with us. We get them going. They watch everything we do. They learn along the way, and then they do stuff for themselves later on in life. All bought to our proven rules. So everything I've talked about today is transparent. It's in my book. We follow our own rules. And that's why we reject 59 out of every 60 properties. Long term, you can have a 6-year plan. Over 6 years, you grow to about 5 properties, and you're able to release £20,000 per annum of tax-free money year after year after year if you want to stop at that point. Or you may have a 12-year plan. Over 12 years, you'll grow to 9 properties, approximately £1.4 million worth of property. Your share of the equity, £260,000 of equity. Your share of the releases, £40,000 per year of tax-free release, plus probably about another £10,000 of rental profit from those 9 properties. Now, I say your share because we cover as many downsides as possible. We give you some guarantees. I'll just show you on the next slide, and then we'll go to Q&A. But we give you guarantees, so you've got total peace of mind we're going to deliver. Now, in return for those guarantees and covering the downside, one of those guarantees is you never put another penny in. If you invest 75,000 with us, if you do it yourself and make a mistake, you might have to put another few thousand in or another tens of thousands. With us, we guarantee to run the investment so well, if ever it needs another pound putting in, I have to put it in personally, not you. If it needs another £1,000, I have to put it in personally, not you. You get this in black and white. In return for that, we take a share of the upside. We get 25% of the upside. So you get a joint venture partner who has 2 decades of experience. It's actually myself personally, not the business, that becomes your joint venture partner. So I'm not going to go sit on a beach and forget about any property we bought for you. Every single one is going to be important to me. Because if I make you successful, I get successful too. And these assets, unlike pensions, etc., can be passed on to your children. The guarantees we have in place are there, literally market-leading guarantees. You will not get this level of guarantee anywhere else. Okay, but to pick out a couple of core ones, we guarantee your property will rent within 12 weeks. That includes all the refurbishment period, getting a tenant, getting them moved in if they've got a notice period. We normally rent within 6 weeks, but if it's not rented within 12, we pay the rent. We guarantee to run those rental checks in advance, so you never buy a property that won't rent anyway. That's why we can afford to offer the guarantee. If your contingency funds run out, we cover the shortfall. If you're unhappy, this is the biggest guarantee of all. If you're unhappy with any property we buy for you at any time in the first year, we'll buy it back from you full cost price. Everything you've paid, including the solicitor, the value at all cost. We've never, ever had anyone want to claim on that. But it's there for your peace of mind. If something, even if you decide after 8 months you wish you'd never invested in property for some reason, we'll just buy it back from you at cost price. Makes it risk-free. Those people that are fearful of moving forward, fearful of the next step, fearful they'll make a mistake and don't want to look silly, covers all of that. If we buy you a duffer, we buy it back. Property is fully refurbished to the correct letting standard. You're not going to overspend on these properties. Okay, I've got skin in the game. The more profit I make you, the more profit I make. So we're not going to overspend. We're going to do it the right standard, spend the right amount of money, and we're going to drive those costs down. You can veto every property. So even though we cherry pick, we've looked through all those people. We have 4 people permanently looking for deals for you. We then send a recommended deal out. Everybody virtually takes the deals we send out because they meet all of our rules. But if ever you want to veto it, you can. You just stay top of the list and you get the next deal instead. Not a problem. No further investment needed, contingency in place, and we look at 60 properties already 20% below market value to recommend one. So that summary, 75,000 in, 6-year period, 20,000 per annum out. Or 75,000 in, 12-year period, 40,000 per annum out. Okay. So that's what we do at the Insight Group. Okay. You may be interested to follow up with us. If you are, you can either email interested to info@propertyinsight.info. Or I'll give you the option. You can just click if would you like to know how to turn a 75,000 investment into 40,000 per annum. If I can just ask everybody to click a reply on that, I'm going to grab a very, very quick drink. The reason I'm asking you to click a reply, you might have just been here for the education, and that's totally cool. Just click that box. You might like to hear some more about how we do that, how we take that investment and turn it into that. So if you just tick the relevant box, and then the team can send you out the relevant information, and some links to some videos and to the website, and just give you access to be able to explore us a little bit further. Okay. So yeah, I'll just grab a very quick drink and then we'll go to question and answer. Okay, there's about 20% of you still not clicked. So if I can ask you to click as soon as possible, because then I can get the slides back up for everybody, because the questions quite often it's useful to move between the slides. I also said there was 4 free offers. So as soon as people have clicked, I'll get the offers up as well, and then you can just claim those free offers for yourself as well. But while people finish clicking, I'll just finish on the, I'll go through the questions that people have asked. Michelle says, hi Aaron, thanks for a great presentation. How do you know the real market value of a property? Do you need a RICS valuation every time and pay for it? Is there a more cost-effective way to do it? Michelle, there's a couple of things here. The first thing I'd say is that you should be able to learn the skills to be able to value a property yourself. Now, my book, it's in the free offers in a minute. My book covers how to do that. You can also email my team, info@propertyinsight.info. And if you email the team and ask them to send to you our checklist for valuing a property, and anyone who's on the call, do that if you want to. Email the team and say, can you please send me the checklist for valuing a property? And they'll send that out, and you can probably follow that, and that will teach you a lot of how you go about valuing a property. Having said that, if I'm buying at 20% discount, we value it ourselves. Excuse me, they're doing a fire test. We value it ourselves, but we also get a second check done. So when we get that second check done, that alarm's not going to stop. I'm hoping it doesn't mean I need to vacate, but I'm sure it doesn't. It's always a test on a Friday. Forgive the noise in the background, but yeah, when they get that second check done, then it's worth getting a professional to do that. For £150 plus VAT, you can get somebody to do a valuation that gives you a full list of works that needs doing to refurbish the property, that will give you comparables of other properties that have sold in the area. We'll give you a full stack of photos, and it's really useful also for your strategy of refinancing later on to have a professional RICS valuation that you've got in your pocket that you can show the valuer in 6 or 12 months time that the house, even though you did buy it for 80, was worth 100 all along. So I'd suggest having that RICS valuation done, but you need to learn the skill yourself so you don't have to pay for a RICS valuation every single time. An interim step is using someone like HomeTrack. I'm not affiliated with them in any way, but you can find them online, HomeTrack, and for about 20 or 25 pounds you can get a report done on a property that will help you zone in. And HomeTrack, you know, people like the Halifax, people who do drive-by valuations use that system quite a lot. Okay. Can I just ask, please, the people that haven't clicked, click as soon as possible. It's fine to click no thank you just here for the education, but please click that so I can get the offers up. That would be great. Sorry for that noise during that question. So Michael saying, what's the average monthly income from the rent for a property? If you're asking about Property Insight, Michael, it totally varies because we buy in the price point from 70,000 up to 130,000. We've got a Michael Wilson that's a client, by the way. I'm assuming this isn't the same Michael, but it may be. But we buy in the price point from 70,000 up to 130,000. So the yield, and we buy at that price point because you get the best yields at that price point. If you buy a house for 100,000 in an area, and let's say it rents for 600 a month, and in the same area you look at houses that are 200,000, they don't rent for 1,200 a month. It doesn't double. They might rent for 1,100, or probably in that example 995. So as the property gets more expensive, the yields don't grow with it, which is a problem. So we buy in that price bracket of the high yields, 70,000 to 130. But you know, any property under 100,000, you want to be renting for at least kind of target is 525 down at maybe 70,000 or 500. And working up from there. The other way to work it out is that we look for, our cash flow equation looks for 180% coverage. What I mean by that is if the mortgage cost on a 5-year deal, not on today's rates, but on a 5-year deal, so mortgage cost, say at 5% would be X, then we want the rent to be at least 180% of that. Lenders only look for 125% coverage, but they're not being as fussy as we are. We look for 180% coverage. Michelle's asking a great question. I'd like to outsource most of my property portfolio building, but unfortunately I don't have the 75k. Will combining mortgage sourcing and rental insight help me achieve my goals almost hands-free? Just trying to understand how to leverage your group, even though I can't join Property Insight program. Yeah, so what Michelle's talking about there is, the answer, Michelle, is absolutely yes, it will. It will achieve a lot of what you're trying to achieve. And what I'd suggest is you speak to the team directly. If you speak to the office and speak to either Paula or Amelia, especially for Property Sourcing Made Easy, she can cover that with you. But basically, we have 4 companies within the group. So we have our all singing, all dancing portfolio building, but some people want to be more hands-on. Some people want to be more involved. So our Property Sourcing Made Easy product is a product that quite a few people use. And Property Sourcing Made Easy basically is every single deal we don't buy for our portfolio clients. So the 59 out of 60 we reject, and we guarantee there'll be 1,000 every year with a 15% plus discount, or high yielding properties, very high yielding properties, straight into your inbox. So you're leveraging our 2 decades of building contacts, our 800 sourcer contacts, banks, receivers, estate agents, letting agents. 95% of the deals we see never go on the open market. They all start arriving in your inbox. On top of that, you get access to all of our power teams. So our letting agents, our mortgage brokers, our solicitors, our refurbishment teams, right across the country that we've built over the last 2 decades, you get access to all of them. So it does tick a lot of those boxes, Michelle. You have to do the mindset stuff yourself, you know, maybe the tax planning yourself, number 1 and number 9, but the majority of the other boxes you're getting ticked off with that service. And that service we sell for just £297. £297 for a year's worth of, that's 1,000 deals into your inbox, and that is access to all of our power teams. Many people buy that service just for the power teams. Many people buy it just for the deals. So if you're interested in that, then I've just launched up a poll. You can just click for Property Sourcing Made Easy, and we'll just send you out an email with the information all about it. If you click for any of these, by the way, we're not going to ring you up and pester you. We'll just send you an email, and you've got the information to get more information, and you'll have the contact details if you want to get back in touch with one of those relevant businesses. Mortgage Insight is our mortgage brokerage, over 6,000 clients that we look after on an ongoing basis. Real buy-to-let, deep expertise. That was my first business many years ago. And Rental Insight is a letting agency, just like a typical letting agent, but outstanding at what they do, because we've got our experience we bring to the table. But they cover from Northampton up to Newcastle and West Coast to East Coast, and we're out in the marketplace, out in the field, looking after clients right across that area with Rental Insight. So yeah, so Michelle, hopefully that answers your question. But yes, absolutely. If you put together the services from Property Sourcing Made Easy, Rental Insight, and Mortgage Insight, you're getting a good chunk of the portfolio stuff. The other stuff that the portfolio really gets is we manage that portfolio, so we tell them when they can refinance, we tell them when they can release. We're alongside them for the next 12 years or the next 6-7 years, however long they want to plan. Whereas on Property Sourcing Made Easy, it's your response. If you want to refinancing, you'd come back to Mortgage Insight and say, can we look at it again? You'd be prompting it rather than us driving that. And that has a great value as well, of course, us driving that. But yes, it would tick, in terms of outsourcing, without a doubt, that would tick many of your boxes. And we've designed the business deliberately so people can do that if they don't want the full hands-free version, or they can't afford at this point the full hands-free version. They don't have that level of money to invest. Okay. I've just realized, Michael, you might have been asking the question, what's the average monthly income from the rent in the long term for a property, as in the profit? What are you taking home if you invest with the Insight Group? And what we normally say there is, when we model and say 75,000 investment over the long term turns into 40,000 a year, or over 6 years into 20,000 a year, we assume zero rental profit in that 12-year period. Zero. Now, in reality, you'll make about £40,000 of rental profit while we're growing the portfolio. But we assume zero because we build everything worst case. If we had the time today, which we don't, I'd take you through the model in detail, and you'd see all the worst case planning in there. We want to assume things worst case so we can under-promise and over-deliver. We assume growth of 5% per annum. The national average over the last 80 years, over a compounded period, is double that. 7.9% per annum by year. So all of that's built into the planning, but in reality they cash flow about £100 a month. Let's say £1,000 a year, again safe, secure. So if you've got £5,000 a year, but you're getting equity release from them as you grow them and you're buying more, and then once you get to the size you want to be, you keep that equity release going to release your profits, and you've got your rental profits on top of that. Okay, so when I say 75,000 in goes to 40,000 a year, tax-free for life, inflation-proofed, that's without the rental profits. They're on top of that, another 10,000 a year probably. Okay, cool. I think I've answered all the questions that have come in. If I've missed your question, I apologise. Maybe you want to type it in again, and I'll make sure that I come back to it. There's just about everybody who started the call with me is still on the call, so that's great. I'm really glad that you've got some value out of today. Really glad that you've got some value from being on the call. I'll just put up the free offers because I promised to do that. So I mentioned earlier on the 4 free offers that we make. My book, The Property Coach, literally is today's webinar in absolute detail. So that's offered today for the price of printing, postage and packaging, just £5. If you want to click there, we'll get that link sent out to you so you can order that for just £5. It's normally $14.97 on Amazon. But we've got the DVD, newly recorded in the last couple of months, normally sells for £97. 20 great training videos on there teaching you all sorts of things in property. We've got the rental pack, which is an example tenancy agreement, video on how to be 98% occupied, 95% rent collected. And we've got the property, it says property blogs, but actually it's a 3 to 7 minute education video clip. It comes into your inbox once a week, recorded by people like myself, Simon Zucci, who's a real expert in property, Yvonne Emery in refurbishment, just arrives in your inbox. If that topic doesn't interest you, you delete it, but it's drip feeding your education. It means the weeks that you get really busy and forget about property, you can just click and spend 5 minutes watching a good educational video that keeps your education moving forward. So there's about £400 worth of free offers there. They're just a thank you for coming along. The reason we do it is we know if we educate for free, some people love it and it'll help them on their journey. Great, we've helped. Other people will really get to see the deep knowledge we have, and they'll be attracted to work with the Insight Group when the time comes that they need a mortgage broker, or they want someone to build a portfolio for them, or they just want help with sourcing properties, property sourcing made easy. They'll come to us because they get to get that deep knowledge. That's the only reason, that's the reason financially for us that we offer the free stuff. But it will help you on your journey anyway. We've already got your details, so we're not doing it for any other reason than for that reason. So if you want any of those, just click, and what will happen, the recording for today's webinar and any of those offers will come to you directly from Property Insight and the Insight Group. So the same email address that sent out the invite to today, it will come out from that same email address, Property Insight and the Insight Group. I really, really wish you all the best with your investing. Michael, thank you very much for your comments. Glad you liked the presentation. Really pleased about that. Thank you. But yeah, really, really wish you all the best with your investing. Hope it goes well. If you would like some more help, if you'd like to work with us, we'd be delighted. If not, we run these webinars on a fortnightly basis. So there's no webinars next week. I've got a week off, but the week after we've got 3 webinars and there'll be an invite coming out. So look out for that and register for the ones that you think would be of interest or help to you. Yeah, very best wishes. Have a great weekend. I'll speak to you soon. Thank you.